What's good, fellas? Welcome to this live presentation. This one's gonna be about fear and past trauma, how to face your fear and your past trauma like a beast. And we got a special guest coming on today. He specializes in this topic, so it's gonna be great to get him on. Let's see. All right, bro. When you're on here, okay, let's see if it gives me the option to bring you on. Brother, are you using your phone or your laptop? Because it's not giving me the option to bring you on. Can you switch to your phone? Because I think we had this issue last time. Yeah, I think it works better on the phone. Like it's not giving me the option to bring you on. So there we go. What's up, bro?
Ah, what's up, man? How are you?
Feeling great, man. Powerful presentation. How you feeling?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for asking. It's good to see you.
Hell yeah.
What's up,
I
man? How are you?
This is my boy Joshua. We did a presentation. I want to say a few weeks ago on fear. It went well, and I decided to bring him back because I see this topic keeps coming up. I've been some of you guys, and you've been telling me you're having issues with past trauma, dealing with fear, bringing confidence. So I think it'd be very valuable to have Joshua kind of, just vibe on this topic with me, and hopefully you guys get a lot. Bro, can you kind of give a quick intro to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, bro. Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm Joshua, and I'm a personal development coach, and I specialize in overcoming past fears and trauma, which essentially are the kind of the foundation of us not being able to reach the goals that we want, whether it be in relationship, business, life in general. And, I kind of got into this business by accident. I was coaching on helping entrepreneurs build up their finances and their marketing strategies. And then I kind of went through a dark period in my life where, I kind of fell into alcoholism and, I just went down a dark path. And once I was able to really dive in deep and figure out what was going on in my life and overcome my own past traumas and my own fears, then I flipped my game and started helping other people do the same and have had freaking amazing results with it. It's been an incredible journey.
Nice, bro. Yeah. What would you say? So as far as like the past fear and past fear and past trauma. What would you say is like I guess some advice you would give guys who are currently having past trauma and fear holding them back in their dating life? Um,
Sure, man.
yeah, yeah.
And this really is going to plague a lot of guys. You know, the way that what I've been finding out recently, since we've talked, is you're not just fighting your own fears and traumas, you're fighting fears and trauma that are kind of passed down generationally. So you're fighting fears and traumas that your parents had and their parents had, and that creates such deep rooted neural pathways that, you know, you are programmed to believe a certain way, whether you're programmed to believe that you're good enough or that you're not good enough. And, you know, that kind of stems down generationally. So from the day that you're born, it's almost as if the cards are stacked against you. And unless you're able to shift that mindset, and unless you're able to actually really dive in and tackle those problems, then you're going to keep following the same pattern over and over and over again. And specifically when it comes to dating, I mean, you know, creating a true sense of self and a true self-confidence is going to, you know, create such a different atmosphere for you when it comes to, you know, approaching the women, the quality women that you want to attract. You know, you can go out there and you can get, you know, any hoe off the street if you want it, but that's only a temporary fix for a much deep-rooted problem.
Got you. So one of the things that God have brought to my attention that is being vulnerable. Um, whether it's being vulnerable when you're approaching a woman, whether it's being vulnerable in the interaction itself, whether it's being vulnerable in a relationship. Like, so I guess that's probably coming from past trauma, right? Probably some relationship that they had in the past that maybe they felt like they were betrayed, or maybe uh, something happened that they didn't expect, or anything like that. So I guess my question would be, how can someone deal with that or overcome that past trauma from older relationships, or maybe just experiences with women in the past that have messed with their head or hurt them emotionally or whatever?
Absolutely. Well, the first step that you're going to want to take is you're going to have to understand that that's what the issue is. You're going to have to understand that there is actually a problem, that you do have past traumas that have affected, you know, your current situation. If you keep going about, you know, thinking that you're the shit and, you know, experiencing failure after failure, I mean, you got to understand that there is a problem going on. And then you're going to want to understand and identify where that problem first occurred and the occurrences thereafter, so that you can figure out, you know, what pathway you took in those instances, and then flip your game and change it up so that you can experience different results. So for example, you know, I've I used to be someone who was very timid, very shy, very standoffish. You know, I'd go to parties, I'd hang out against the wall, and hope people would come up to me, and then when they would come up to me, I'd hope they'd go away really quickly because I was very kind of socially awkward. But once I started diving into, you know, what I wanted, which was, you know, to make friends, build relationships, secure, you know, a good sex life and things like that, I started figuring out, you know, why I was how I was, you know, and it started way back when I was 4 years old, and the relationship that I had with my mom. You know, she was physically and emotionally abusive, and that really left some deep scars that I had to work through. You know, and I would see that show up in different relationships, not necessarily in the physical way, but I would always put up a guard with myself. And that transpired into not just my relationship with women, but also with men and everyone. You know, I always had this brick wall, this fence around me. And it wasn't until, you know, I did some deep work and, you know, really dove into that trauma and the traumas that I created based on that trauma, that, you know, I started opening up, started building the confidence, and started, you know, developing stronger interpersonal relationships with other people.
Got you. Yeah. I can definitely. I was talking to one of my friends recently. We had something similar when it came to our relationships with our fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Our fathers were successful men, like as far as like financially stuff like that, and so they were like very strict disciplinarians. And so my father, he used to basically, like, if I didn't know something, like, this is a funny example. Like, one time he was fixing his car and he asked me, you know, because my full name is Trayvon. So he was like, Trayvon, where's the, uh, the Phillips screwdriver? And I think I was like maybe 7 or 8. So, like, it's 7 or 8 year old not to know what that is, right? Yeah,
Sure.
so he's like, where's the Phillips screwdriver? And I was like, I don't know what that is. And he's like, you don't know what that is? Ah! You know, he started going crazy. And I still remember that. And like, there was like, you know, other instances where things like that happened, where he would, you know, maybe ask me a question, or, you know, some kind of conversation where it was time for me to voice my opinion or say something. And he would sort of basically make me feel bad for not knowing something or not having the right answer. And so that, now that I was, you know, just looking back at stuff like that, I'm like, that makes sense why you would go in school and be shy and not want to speak up and stuff like that. Because, you know, I was basically being trained that if I said something and it was wrong, I would, you know, there would be a big consequence, right? And so, yeah, so for me, you know, how I was able to come to terms with that is, I realized now, looking back, he was just a very strict disciplinarian. He thought what he was doing was right, and I get it now. And I guess that's part of how you heal your past trauma, is going back and kind of, you know, facing that situation instead of running away from it or keep blaming my father for, maybe I could say, oh, he's an asshole or whatever. But I was able to look back at it and laugh at it now. I could laugh at it now because I realized that's just so ridiculous. But he thought he was right, and I'm not going to. He wasn't perfect. You know what I mean? I realized my father wasn't perfect. I'm sure probably that's how he was raised. Like you said, it's generation to generation. So he probably
Yeah.
took that same parenting strategy or whatever, and applied it to me, and it just didn't work well on me because I was actually trying to be a good kid. You know, I wasn't trying to say the wrong thing. I wanted to say the right thing. And so, yeah, so what would you say, like, is that a good thing that I did, like going back and just learning to forgive my dad and reframe the situation, like, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's an excellent way to go about that situation. Um, and it's cool that you were able to pinpoint, you know, that specific story. I'm sure you have other ones that kind of capitalized upon that, but that's the one that really sticks in your head. And going back to the vulnerability, you know, that that in itself, I mean, that dates back to prehistoric times, you know, especially when men were the hunters. And, you know, from generation to generation, it was, if you showed vulnerability, then you died. I mean, you know, and, you know, so we're now in such a global society that vulnerability is actually becoming power. It's becoming strength. And, you know, when you're trying to attract a woman, you know, you want to tap into that feminine energy that men have, whether they want to admit it or not. If you're able to tap into that feminine energy, it actually attracts more of that type of energy. And so, you know, being able to become vulnerable and being able to tap into that energy will help, you know, draw in, you know, a higher caliber type woman. um, this whole ego thing that a lot of guys have, you know, wanting to be macho and things like that, you know, they're actually putting out an energy that is going to attract, you know, a harder class woman. And, you know, so I'm really glad that you tapped in on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And there's like three things I focus on in the group, and it's grounded masculinity, authentic expression, and leadership. And the grounded masculinity, I think that's very important because there's a lot of guys that, you know, may have been raised in a way where they were taught like to kind of be, it's almost like too polite. I don't know if you know what I mean, like too polite or too nice, like kind of being a pushover and kind
Mm-hmm.
too far away from the masculine, which is necessary as a man. You need to have that. And then I talk about being grounded in it. So not like crazy, like I'm because I'm a masculine guy, but I'm not going around like, oh, let's fight, or you know, like it's grounded. And you know, I can bring that out when necessary, but most of the day you don't need to be like that. Like it's, you know, you just need to be able to communicate and just that, you know, have your code, like your morals, your principles, you know, basically the way how you live, and you just stay within that, and that's your groundedness, right? And you kind of just move from there. And then, as you said, you need to have that feminine side too. When I talk about authentic expression, one of the parts I talk about is being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
In order to express yourself authentically, you have to be vulnerable. But I know that can come off as like soft or, you know, whatever, weak, and so that's why you need to have that grounded masculinity there too. So it's like a good combination of the two that makes you um, more attractive. You know, you communicate in a much better way. It flows better, and people can understand you better and relate to you more, and you can create connections with men and women. And then the leadership part is, you know, important because, you know, you got some guys that are like chasing women, you know what I mean, worshiping them and all that stuff. And it's like it's
Yeah.
praying for you to be a man who's leading, who's doing this thing, who has his purpose, who has his goals, and he meets women along the way, and he's like, hey, you know, this is what I'm doing. Would you like to come along for the journey? You know, let's see what are you doing. Let's maybe we can complement each other. Like that's more the vibe I'm trying to get men to go into, or the frame they they have when they communicate to women. I think it's a lot more attractive when you have these three qualities and you combine them. Um, so yeah, man.
I love that, man. I think that's really awesome what you're doing. And, you know, it creates such a well-rounded person to center on leadership, and then the expression, and then an actual masculinity. Um, I think that's freaking amazing what you're doing.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. So another question I wanted to ask you, this question I asked in the group today. I asked guys how nervous are you when you're talking to a woman you find attractive on a scale of 1 to 10?
Mm-hmm.
Some guys said, you know, 5 or higher. Some said 5 or lower. The guys who said 5, some of them said like 8. I don't know, 10, but maybe the ones who 9 and 10 wouldn't even put that down, right? So I guess my question would be for a guy who finds himself very nervous when interacting with women. Um, Obviously, there's fear there, and then it could also be past trauma. How would somebody find out or maybe detect where that fear or that past trauma, or you know, what's causing them to be so nervous around women? I don't know if that's a question you be able to answer. You're not specific in the dating thing, but maybe you still be able to answer though.
Well, it would. I would imagine that it would vary based on their current situation. You know, everyone has a different life experience, so their fears and their past traumas may be different than someone else's. But I think you're right on key that it definitely stems from a fear or a past trauma that has occurred within their life. I was watching one of the videos with the with someone that you had on earlier, and they were talking about how, you know, getting out of your own way. You know, you're a man, your natural sense is to attract someone of the opposite sex. And, you know, a lot of times you are just getting in your own way. And it's those fears and those past traumas that you actually build up more than what they need to be in your head. And so you're creating these roadblocks, this nervousness within you when you're approaching a female or you know, someone of the opposite sex. So it really depends on the person's situation, what their personal experience has been. You know, like for me, I had some past trauma that really kind of barricaded me from wanting to build a relationship with you know, any sort of female. And if you had that experience with your dad, I mean, and so that would naturally cause, you know, a fear of communication and building trust and a relationship with someone else. So to answer your question, how would they you know, figure out what's going on, why they're so nervous? It would really take a deep dive into, you know, what their experiences has been. I think we talked last time about, you know, you being a little bit socially awkward when you made the transition from elementary into middle school. And, you know, we had talked about, you know, how your environment was completely changed and you were kind of forcibly put into an environment where you had absolutely no experience. And so, you know, that could definitely have been a situation to promote that social awkwardness, that shyness, and things like that. So, you know, being able to just take a look back into your subconscious and pinpoint those specific incidences, those environmental situations that you've been in, and kind of make the connections as to, you know, what's going on now and what happened back then is going to be critical in order to overcome the shyness or the nervousness that you know, a guy might have in approaching a female or you know.
Yeah. Another one that comes to mind for me, because my last like monogamous relationship, like now I'm just kind of doing my thing or whatever, but my last monogamous relationship, that one kind of ended pretty badly, and I realized that was uh a relationship that I really needed to um kind of look at and kind of go through and really see what happened and take. I think a big part is taking responsibility, because I see guys have a tendency to blame the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Was this, or she was that, or she did this wrong, you know.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, it's like you're giving her all the power, and you're
Mm-hmm.
weaker, basically. You know what I mean? And you're making yourself a victim too. And I realized that one of the things that I right, and I'm glad I did this, was I learned, similar to what I did with my father. I learned to forgive her, because the relationship ended in a way where I was like trying to fix it, and she was just kind of giving up on it completely, and it just kind of crumbled, and I felt betrayed and all this stuff, right? And so at first it was just extremely painful and very emotional and stuff like that, but I was able to put some space and really look at it, and I realized, like, because she had her own issues and stuff like that, and she, um, I couldn't, I was expecting certain things from her. Like, she was pretty young. I was 24 and she was 18, so she was pretty young. She's not experienced and stuff like that. So I was kind of like, you you know, why be in this way? But I had to put that space and really see things for what it was. Like, it's a young girl. She was in college, right? Things weren't working out perfectly. So maybe she was like, you know what? Maybe I should, or my options or whatever. And I, if I truly love her as a person, I shouldn't be trying to hold on to her, right? Like, I should be able to let her go and have her experiences. And if we're meant to realign at some point in the future, great. If not, wish her the best. So I think yeah, a big part is being able to take some form of responsibility for what may have happened. You know, see what maybe you could have done better, or maybe how you may be seeing things with a lens. You know, a lens that's kind of like just focused on, you know, how you want to see things, and see it for what it is, and see maybe if there was maybe a way you could have communicated better. Like looking back, there was some, you know, I lashed out at her at different times when I could have went a different route. You know what I mean? Things like that, which contributed to the end of the relationship. But I wanted to just focus on what she was doing wrong at first. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's another part to it, is like being able to kind of step out of yourself and see things from a different perspective. You maybe even put yourself in the other person's shoes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, when you take responsibility, the fact of the matter is you are responsible for everything that you create in your life. And when you actually take that responsibility, you're right. You take back 100% of your power. So if you created, you know, the faults in the relationship, then you actually have the authority and the power to make changes and create a different reality for yourself. I've been I joined up a couple of different relationship groups in on Facebook, you know, to try and help out other people. And the victim mentality that you were talking about is so extremely prevalent in there. And I actually had to remove myself from some of those groups because it was just so extreme that, you know, it, it's primarily women in these groups who are, you know, kind of berating and demoralizing men. And, you know, essentially it's a vomit pool of everything wrong with men. And, you know, I've 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 tried to, you know, reach out to some of the women and, you know, kind of shift their mindset into taking more responsibility for, you know, their actions within the relationship. And a lot of them don't want to see it that way. And so because they don't want to see it that way, they will continue to repeat those mistakes until they decide to take that responsibility. And the same thing goes for men. I mean, you know, all women aren't bitches. All women aren't hoes. You know, they're not just after your money. You know, um, when you take personal responsibility for that, then you will actually start attracting a higher caliber woman, and, you know, actually regain your power to attract, you know, someone who is worthy of your time, and someone who's not going to be, you know, trifling and hoeing around and shit like that. You know, take responsibility. That exudes power, that exudes leadership, that exudes that masculine energy that you're talking about, because a real man will take responsibility for everything that he has created in his life. And, you know, he'll be able to get the woman that he wants.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, that's a very strong point you made there. Like, if you don't take responsibility, you're going to make the same mistakes, which means you're going to end up in the same relationship again, same problem again. It's just going to keep repeating. I see that a lot with some of my friends. You know what I mean? Basically, repeating the same relationship. And, you know, I see that recurring theme. They don't want to take responsibility. Oh, it was the girl. Oh, she did this, right? And I you know, I notice that, you know, each relationship I've gotten into, it keeps getting better. And it's because I've taken responsibility. I've, you know, grown as a man. I'm not making the same mistakes. You know, I'm able to look and see what can I do better as a man, to, you know, attract the higher caliber women, and also like raise my beingness, you know, raise my conscious level, raise my awareness. And yeah, man. I mean, like your not just, you know, your dating life will change when you do stuff like this, but like your whole outlook on life will change. You know, the things that you attract, the type of people, not just women but men. you attract men who are also trying to improve, and now you can have these conversations instead of just dealing with it by yourself. Now you have other men that are trying to evolve and stuff like that, and you can talk to them. And so yeah, it's definitely there's just different ways to deal with things, and it's like finding what actually works. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of my thing. Like I want to know what works, and be the easy. It's not going to be the easy thing. Most going to be the thing that's going to be painful, the thing that's going to require you to check your ego. That the thing that's going to require you to um, feel some discomfort or whatever. But it's like just understanding by going through it, you're going to become a better man. You're going to grow. You're going to and you're gonna have a better quality of life. Like there's certain emotions that I'm able to experience now that I'm able to experience them now is because of those situations I went through and how I decided to respond. Because you don't know what's gonna happen externally, but you can choose how you respond. You could choose how you're going to be internally, right? After the situation or during it. And so that's what I've been focusing on is my internal, and man, it's just life just continues to get better, man, when you do that.
Yeah, it does. It, uh, you said that you have been able to experience new feelings since since you've been growing. Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Yeah, new emotions like peace, emotions like peace, love, freedom, um, joy, gratitude, um, fulfillment. Like these are emotions I'm starting to feel now that I wasn't feeling before. The only thing I could say is because I went through those experiences and I decided I didn't lose myself within those experiences, and I allowed myself to just ascend, grow through those experiences by facing the truth. I think a lot of it is facing the truth. Like instead of running away from what may be uncomfortable to deal with or face or think about or talk about or feel, instead of running away from it, like I faced it. I faced my demons. I faced my I faced the negative emotions. I faced everything. Like instead of, I decided that there's nobody that's gonna come and save me. You know what I mean? That's just the facts, right? Nobody's gonna come and save me. Even if you go and get a coach or you go and get some support, you still gonna have to do the work. They're just gonna help support.
Yeah.
But it's gonna come back to you. Like, are you gonna take the steps necessary? Are you gonna step up? Are you going um you know like uh you know, have faith, believe that, by going through that process, you'll come out a better man. Like, cause you don't know what you don't know, right? So sometimes the fear of the unknown, right? You don't want to that dark because you're afraid. But you just have to have faith that you go through it and you'll come out stronger. You'll come out better. Um you'll come out with more freedom. You know what I mean? So yeah, bro, I'm experiencing these great emotions now, and it's because it definitely is because of those experiences I went through for sure. Like if I didn't go through those experiences, and I didn't learn from them, and you know what I mean, and face the truth and stuff like that, because I could have, obviously I could have went a different direction, and then I would probably maybe still be having those type of relationships right now, right?
Yeah.
Like just having this mindset of evolving as a man, I think is very powerful. um that's a lot of it. Like I think that's the core of it. Like I want to become better, you know what I mean? And there's certain things you're gonna have to do if that's your goal, right? That's you know that's something I'm trying to help guys do, you know what I mean, is just step up, you know what I mean, step up and be a man. Like what to be a man, you got to be courageous. You got to be bold. You got to be able to face fear. You got to be able to handle life. Like that's what makes you attractive as a man. Like that's what makes you grounded, right? Is your ability to handle tension, to handle challenges. You know what I mean, in your life, And when you handle them, then when you're faced with the new challenges, the new adversity, you're like, man, I handled all those. What's stopping me from handling this, right? So so yeah, man, that would be my thoughts on that.
I love that, man. I love. How old are you?
27.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
So yeah.
That's very cool, man. I love that. And you know, I'm turning 40 this year, and you know, it took me a long time to, you know, reach this elevated status of living. You know, and it's exactly what you're talking about now. So, for you to have, you know, started the journey, you know, along, you've got so many awesome years ahead of you. It's very cool. You know, I've been doing this personal development for, I don't know, probably a decade or so now. And it's such a cool journey. I mean, you learn so much about yourself, and you grow so much as a person. And, you know, you just create that, that altered sense of living that most people will never experience. And, you know, for people like you and I who actually want to help, you know, pull other people into, you know, this level with us, it's such a rewarding duty that we're called to do.
Oh,
and
oh yeah, brother. So yeah, like we definitely gave a lot of value in this presentation. I'm glad you came on. Is there any like final thoughts, maybe some new insight you have? I know you said you were talking about, you know, the past trauma, it goes back generation to generation. Get out, be some truth to that. But did you want to expand on that, or was there anything?
It's it goes really deep. It goes really, really deep. And you know, just to touch base on it, it's actually a system that has been created that stems back, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's wired programming that has been passed down to keep us at a minimal mindset, you know, and that extends into relationships, that extends into finances, it extends into business and the quality of life in general. And you know, I'm starting to learn more and more about this, and it's actually kind of frightening. You know, how hardwired we're all programmed, and how to actually rewire ourselves to create, you know, an elevated life experience. And, you know, hopefully we can touch base again, you know, once I dive more deeper into it. But yeah, it's the next couple of months are going to be pretty significant.
Yeah, definitely, bro. It'd be great to touch base because yeah, this whole rewiring, like that literally feels like that's literally all I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Rewiring like a lot of shit that's been ingrained in me, and it's like it's not supported right now. So it's like I gotta remove it and replace it with something more powerful or something more aligned with where I'm trying to go. So yeah, that definitely that's a great, I think a very valuable topic that you're diving into is going to benefit a lot of people once you're able to formulate it and put it in your own words and put it out there. So that's what's up, man. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on, bro. Where can guys find you? Like if they want to hit you up, what's the best?
Yeah, feel free to hit me up on Facebook. It's Joshua D. Abel. You know, I post value there, you know, several times a week, based on overcoming fear and past trauma to create more success in your life. But yeah, I'm always down to talk or chat or, you know, whatever I can do to help out and you know, bring people up.
Yeah. Yeah, appreciate it, bro. All right, fellas, thanks for watching, bro. Thanks for coming on. See y'all in.
Cheers, my friend.